Well, this is exciting, guys. We are joined by Lord Farquhar himself.
What's up?
Bradley.
How often do you get that?
Well, dude, when I was at St. Mary's University, I ran for president of my university, and my posters was Lord Farquhar.
Hey.
You know,
Oh, yes.
so
Yeah.
I coined it right back. Well, I didn't really coin it. Obviously, Shrek did it, but I accepted it then, and I still like it.
Did you ever
It's
wear
good.
the wig?
Dude, I had a guy, one of my best buddies, Jeff McDonald. Maybe you guys know him. He dressed up as Shrek and ran around the university. So I didn't personally wear the wig,
amazing.
but you know,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Did you wait? Did you win?
Not. No, I got second place, but it's one of those things that, like, if you reflect on your life and you did win president of university, there's like that opportunity cost, and I think I won out. So I'm happy.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, I mean, like that, like as far as the campaign, like if I was going to school and somebody
that's
did
what
that,
I'm voting for.
yeah,
Yeah.
hands
Dude.
down.
Hands down. Yeah, I was pretty unknown at the university until that happened. You know, and my face was everywhere.
That was the real campaign.
So it's actually Lord Farquaad.
Mhm.
Oh, it's Farquaad.
Quaad. But Bradley is Farquhar.
Yeah, nailed
I'm
it.
sure there was
That
a Lord
impressive.
Farquhar somewhere, though.
I'm sure there
Many.
was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's a pretty popular Scottish name.
Yeah,
So there's definitely some lords around.
popular among the lords and ladies.
There.
One
Yes, yes.
time I bought online a 1 square foot piece of land in Scotland just so that I could
No.
have the title Lord.
Nice.
So
And-
technically, just let you
Wait,
know,
is that
And
a
you did
thing where
jack
it's like
shit
you're
with it? Obviously.
I have a certificate.
Is that a thing
Okay.
where it's like if you're a property owner, you get the title Lord?
They sell it that way online.
Yeah, there's another word for that.
Okay.
It's, scam, I think. Is
Yeah.
Anyway,
Apparently, you can visit your plot of land. I'm just saying. I mean, we're getting a little bit off track.
I also
here,
you also gave away your SIN number. when you bought it.
It did
All right.
cost that. Actually.
So Bradley, thanks for popping in. This is
Happy
very
to be
exciting. You are a, I mean, I guess like one of the best ways to put it is your resume just says badass. You've done so many interesting, fascinating things. All while dealing with Crohn's, which is one of the many things that we're going to be talking about today. But for any like local listeners, any Haligonians that are tuning in, which there's a couple, they may or may not know that Lord Farquhar is also the CEO and founder of Purple Cow Internet.
What's
So
up?
we aren't customers here in the office per se, but I know quite a few people that use Purple Cow. And for everybody who's not in Halifax and they're going, what the fuck is that? It's a sick internet provider that isn't one of the monopolizers
Totally.
like Rogers and Bell and all those other fucks.
Dude, you said it. I love it. I'm going with it, you know?
So I mean, let's dive right into it. Crohn's.
Yeah.
We've talked about Crohn's a ton of times on the show. Maybe there's somebody who's brand new listening to the show. What is Crohn's in your own words?
Well, man, it's an autoimmune disease. Basically, my body attacks itself. And it gets triggered by many different things. And essentially, I don't know how I got it. People don't know how it starts. But it's something I have, and it's not something that's going to go away. I have to live with it the rest of my life.
The donut disease, I think, is how we've like always kind of referred to it as, you know, humans, we're just one big donut.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Complicated donut.
Yeah, we're a complicated donut. And Crohn's is affecting the donut hole. Everything from the top of the hole to the bottom of the hole.
Yeah.
Specifically, correct me if I'm wrong, it has to do with inflammation within the digestive tract, or is it one of those autoimmune illnesses where Crohn's can actually be expressed in other places other than just the sort of within the donut hole?
From my mouth all the way down to the other end.
Mouth
to
to butthole.
To the poo hole.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it can be anywhere there. Most of the time, it's in the digestive system. A lot of times in the large intestine.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you don't know how or where you got it.
Mm-hmm.
When did you first find out that you had Crohn's?
Yeah, I was in St. Mary's University. It's my third year, and I just kept getting diarrhea. And I didn't know why. And not only would I get diarrhea, but I would be really lethargic, tired, and I would get cramps. And sometimes I would just start throwing up, and I didn't know what it was. And it's not a simple process to figure out you have Crohn's.
Yeah.
They're going to like stick things up inside of you and down inside of you and take pieces to figure out exactly what's going on. And I was relieved when I found out it was Crohn's, because like you're a kid, I'm 19, 20 years old, trying to wonder what this thing is. And this is like, Facebook is just launching, like Google is just becoming a thing, So like to do your own research, it's the worst things that pop up that it could be. And so
Still like that today, doing your own research. Some of the worst things pop up, especially depending on the research.
You're dead soon.
What was it that because I found that a little bit surprising to hear that you were a bit relieved in the sense of like, if I went in to get a checkup from my doctor and I was experiencing similar symptoms and my doctor told me I had Crohn's, because of my lack of knowledge of it, I might initially be like pretty scared, I'd imagine. But why, like in what sense was it a relief for you?
I just thought it could be something worse. At the end of the day, like there's always something that's worse out there. So, and I think we're all going to get something. It's not a matter of time. It's when. And so, hey, I got Crohn's. Cool. Like, check. I got my thing right now. I'm just going to deal with it. And we're all going to get something here at some point. So I'll just start figuring this out right now.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe it could be something way worse, like cancer or something, where the clock is going to start ticking.
Was that how you dealt with it? Like immediately? Was there a period where you were like, shit, this is actually like, I gotta learn how to deal with this and this sucks? Or was it immediately like, okay, pragmatism, let's just get after it?
Yeah, it's pretty positive right off the bat. Like just because I thought of all the bad things it could be, knowing what it was, I was okay, cool. Like we can deal with this. We can move forward. And I have like a super supportive family. So when that was happening, like my mom and dad were totally in my corner, and I didn't feel like I had anything to worry about at that point moving forward.
What about, so like you're 37, right?
Yep.
Okay.
38.
38. Okay.
Yeah. But thanks.
Did you turn 37 or 38 recently?
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, man.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So as a 38-year-old man, I'm 36. We've got 35,
34,
turning 35, 33, turning 34.
Just a bunch of young guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Babies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like for anybody who's not watching on YouTube, it's like basically what you would expect for a podcast demographic, like the
white,
four
mid-30s,
mid 30-year-old white guys,
pretty based.
Extremely good looking.
Yeah, right.
Well, maybe not so much for
Sorry,
podcasting.
I didn't
would
say
expect
it.
that.
Thank you.
I read the sign.
Have I said fuck Bell and Rogers yet, by the way?
Go purple cow.
So as a 38-year-old man,
Yeah.
I feel like it's not a surprise that our generation, especially our generation who are males, we came from a generation of males that had typically a devastatingly hard time being open and honest about hardship. It was like especially I think from the Atlantic coast, a lot of the ways that our dads grew up was like, oh, you have emotions, stuff them down, don't talk about it. When dealing with Crohn's, we, especially in talking with a few people over the last 9 years of doing this, one of the things that have come up a number of times is the stigma and like the embarrassment that kind of comes with Crohn's for a lot of people, especially considering the fact that more often than not, when Crohn's is really bad, you're just shitting all the time. It's, diarrhea is like a fucking very normal occurrence. So like in those early days as a 19-year-old, going through that, what was I know you state that you were very positive about it, but like, was there any struggles there with just the sort of embarrassment and the stigma?
100%. I hid it. I never talked about it. I still really don't talk about it really ever. So the fact I'm here talking about it openly, this is kind of a new territory for me. And you mentioned that like when it's bad, it's like you're pooping yourself a lot. Like those are actually pretty good days.
Yeah.
Like the bad days are like, and my wife Katie knows it. She's seen it. Like, we'll just be walking in the mall, and then I'll just get attacked. I'll like almost fall into the ground, like down on my knees, and it's just like my belly's just inside out stabbing me. And it wasn't always that bad, and it comes in waves, and I'm on medication for it, but it's not something I like to talk about. And the stigma around it, where it has to do with poop and you poop yourself, like, that's just what it is.
When was the last time you shit your pants?
Well, it actually just happened a couple days ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm a pants shitter. Probably like.
But only because you just don't want to go to the bathroom.
No.
Like, you just are sitting at your desk and you're like,
hey, man.
it's so
You're such a
far away.
workaholic. He just doesn't like the time it takes.
It's just such a waste of time.
We've got a running joke that we're gonna get a
Yeah.
we're gonna get like a days since Jer last shit his pants clock.
Yeah,
on
days
the
since
wall.
last workplace accident, but we're just gonna cross out workplace accident.
Should it be days or hours?
Some days it could be hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I shit myself quite a bit. I think the last time was only just a few weeks ago. So, but you've got me beat.
But the shitting itself, it comes because it just happens so quick. It's like when you have to use the bathroom, it's like, okay, I gotta fucking go.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh shit, I didn't make it. And it's not like it's all over your legs and butt and down your ankles into your socks. It's like, just came out a little bit on my underwear, you know? But there's times where I left the bar or something because the lineup's too long for the bar, and I start like running home, try to get home, and I can't make it. And I'm just like peeling it off in the street somewhere on the sidewalk. Like, you just have to freaking do it.
I've been going through this there's something about there's something about shitting your pants, and when you start to do it often, like us, like real men.
Hey, don't alienate us.
Hey man, start shitting your pants more.
We can all
Hey,
join the
I've
club.
done
Fucking
it.
put hair on your chest.
I've done
it. There's this thing that I've noticed where you're right in that, like, it's I don't think I've ever shit my pants to the degree where, like, you know, I had a full shit and it just like blew out my pants and like down my leg. But
it's just a little.
it's just it's always sometimes a little more than a little, but it is just a little typically. But there's this interesting thing that I've noticed since it's been happening a lot more, where when it happens, you know it's happened. Like immediately you go,
You feel it. Yeah, it's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
And then you have, like, depending on where you are or what you're doing, you have this very short window of like moving, getting up and going, and then having to like assess, okay, wherever I was sitting, like, how much penetration did we get here? Like, how far through did this go?
We need like a grading level for penetration.
Hey, dude,
Like, on a scale of
Like a
1 to 5.
science
Like the way that you
system for
grade
shitting
like ligament tears. Or
What do
something.
you
Haley
mean
was
by-
looking over here, our new hire, and she was like, "Yeah, totally, I get it."
Wait.
I just did that this morning.
I don't understand actually. Like, in terms of penetration, do you mean like through your clothing?
Yeah. So I was
Yeah.
the other day. I was sitting at home and I was playing WWE 2K24.
And you definitely don't want to get up from that.
No, and I was in the middle of a fucking Royal Rumble.
Yep.
And there was like 5 guys left.
Could you press pause?
Yeah, I could. So I did, and then I got up. But when I got up, I was on the couch. My couch is no, it's like, no, it's not white.
It's
gray.
like a heather.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
a heather color.
Yeah. And I got up.
It shows.
First got up, went straight to the bathroom, took pants off, assessed situation, got everything that needed to come out of me out, looked at the pants and was like, okay, underwear is fucked.
You get rid of those.
Get rid
No
of the
big deal.
underwear.
Looked at my pants and I was like, oh, there's a spot on my pants. So I had to look on the outside of my pants and I went,
Right.
There was a little tiny evidence spot.
Wow.
So then I ran
you
to the
went to
couch
it,
to be
right.
like, okay, how much and I got up fast enough that there was no signs
Okay.
of,
So we're gonna call that probably like a 2-3.
yeah, because it went through 2 layers out
Yeah.
of 3.
And the scale speaks to both the runniness and or quantity.
Yeah.
Because like the
We can
more
work-
runny, the more it's gonna.
Yeah,
come
we
through.
can work on it.
I think
We'll
it's a
find, like, a
seepage
researcher.
scale is what it is. Really.
Yeah.
Seepage, right? Yeah.
There's
Right.
probably some sort of like bioengineer out there who like did a study on this.
Sorry, we're spending too much time on this, but I do have a question about
We're
this.
just
that
theorizing about
I
Yeah.
something
really
that everybody goes through. Everybody on planet Earth.
That's
I do have-
This
I
is
shit
called
their pants.
destigmatizing illness, Brian.
Okay, I need to know this because I had one accident at work once before where I as our friend Pat with Hirschsprungs says, I gambled and lost, and I thought it was a fart. It ended up being a little bit of a poop, and I went into the bathroom and there was a bit of poop in my underwear. What do you do with your underwear, especially if you're at work? Is it like immediately garbage, or is that like do you save them?
Do you like the pair of underwear? Is it like an expensive pair, like a Saks?
Like if they're Lulus.
Yeah.
These ones, I don't think I ended up throwing mine in the garbage, but then I wondered, like, if I was in this situation again, would I want to try to save them?
I think it depends on the underwear and depends on the amount.
Yeah. And if you're at home, you just stuff them in the hamper, but like not on the top, like kind of midway.
Yeah.
There's so many fuck you animal. I would put it right in the wash. But it's like, oh, well, I don't want my wife to see it, so I'll just blend it in.
There's so many factors at play here. Because also you're wondering how much longer until I can get home to clean them. Because if you're like start of the day, they're going to sit for 8 hours. Maybe that's a throwaway.
It was lunchtime. I was also sort of embarrassed that somebody would, I wasn't wearing underwear for the rest of the day at work, which is fine. But the other thing is that
no one knows except for you, really.
It was a bin with like one of those big lids that you just sort of lift off, and so like there was nothing else in the garbage bin, and so it's like,
I'll tell you, there was. Fucking Oscar was in there, and you just threw your fucking dirty drawers on Oscar.
Now I feel bad.
He eats all the garbage. So wait, you were worried that you would put them in the garbage, and then someone would look in and go, "That's Brian's underwear." And they poop in them.
Well, they might go.
Nothing else to blend the.
He writes his name on every pair.
Yeah. So would you take paper towel and like crunch it up and put the paper towel on top so that at least it's like a little bit hidden in there?
You take the whole garbage bag.
Brian, you've got some issues that we need to sort through. Clearly.
Thank God you're going to therapy tomorrow.
You need to bring that to
thank
therapist.
God.
All right. Well, so I'm glad we got that out of the way. And again,
poops.
I'm glad that we're talking about it openly because again, this is one of those things. I mean, I get it. I totally get it. I get especially if you were a young man, I get the sort of like embarrassment around it. But the thing is, like, if you're dealing with something that I feel like it's a really good opportunity for someone, whether you're 38 or whether you're 19 or whether you're fucking 10, when you're dealing with something like that, it's a really great opportunity to shift the way that you look at the world and the way that you look at like your body and go, fuck it, whatever. Like, it doesn't make me any different than anyone else. We all shit. And the fact that we're all fucking weird about it is stupid. I mean, you talk to any like nurse, nurses are like, yeah, whatever. It's like this. It's part of the job. It's part of life. It's part of the, the assignment that we have.
Dude, for reals.
Yeah.
Did you feel like that at the time? Did you have a sort of who cares attitude then? Or
No.
were you
When you're shitting
like,
yourself is the most embarrassing thing. And now it's a little less, especially being around my wife. Like, she's wiped my butt before. Like, it's been bad. And
like, was that you guys turning something icky into like a fun thing, or
does Crohn's affect your ability to use your own hands?
No, honestly, like
I'm joking.
Oops.
Jerry likes to take things. Jerry likes to take things to the level that you didn't think they'd go to.
Okay, so
wait. No, weren't we going to get to something on that?
Oh well, no. It's just I was hospitalized once because of my Crohn's, and I basically couldn't really do anything. I was in bed for 10 days in the hospital. And by the time you're in bed that long, you're pretty freaking weak. So when you get up and you're on the commode and you're like trying to reach around but balance and stuff, like, did you get it all? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful I have a wife that's super helpful with that.
Do you guys own a bidet?
No.
Okay.
No.
Here we go again. Sorry, folks. Sorry to everybody who's listened for so long. Let's keep 15 seconds.
Okay.
This will change your life.
Dude, I don't even know how to use the bidets.
It's so easy.
Tushy?
Like all the ones, the Tushy makes
Tushy
sense.
is fucking amazing.
But what about all the ones in Europe? Like, it's a whole other
Those
bowl.
are complicated.
Those are
and like,
hard.
and the water shoots down.
Yeah.
So like, are you supposed to straddle it?
I don't use the ones in Europe.
No.
I don't even
I
get
didn't
it.
like the ones in Europe, but a Tushy is revolutionary.
I'm down for the Tushy.
I could explain to you how to use the ones in Europe, but they're not nearly as easy and effective as a Tushy.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you right now, buy a Tushy.
It's amazing.
It is life-changing, even for someone who doesn't have Crohn's. Just get a Tushy. It's cheap. They do not sponsor the podcast. They fucking should. It's cheap. It is effective, and it feels amazing. And it is like, it totally changes your the way that you relate to your toilet.
Totally.
To the degree where
100%.
like I will go home sometimes to shit just because there's no tushy here. I'm gonna go home, take a poop.
Yeah,
honestly,
and
gladly.
you'll lower your toilet paper bill.
That's
by,
the other thing,
by
yeah.
3/4.
Yeah.
So you got a like affiliate link and stuff for this? Or
Fuck, I
what's the
would.
deal?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Tushy.com
We should have one.
/Jeremy/Sickboy.
They're sponsoring this episode, right?
Yeah, that's,
They
yeah,
very well
should
should.
be.
We should
Damn
reach
well
out to
should
them.
be.
Fucking
Let's
send them
go.
this episode.
Honestly though, and not to beat a dead horse on this, but like Jared talked about this for so long on the podcast, and
Yeah.
I finally, like, almost begrudgingly got one, and I can't believe how much it changed my life. Like when I go and travel and come
Changed
home,
My life.
Really? Like,
It's like
it,
Who
like
knows
you guys,
where he'd be now?
it's funny.
a tushy or winning the lottery.
It's funny because you guys,
it's a
like, you're
toss-up.
not making fun of
It's hard
me,
to say.
which you usually do, but you're not making
I'm
fun
not.
of me because
I
you
hear you.
know it's legit.
Yeah,
It is
it's
life-changing.
Very
It
true.
is
It's life-changing.
All right, so let's. I want to get back to. Firstly, I want to hit on a couple more Crohn's things, but then I want to jump from that to sort of the way that you've lived your life over the past little bit, because it's quite impressive. But before we do that, you said you were hospitalized once. It was a 10-day hospital stay. Obviously, that sounds pretty hardcore. What was the worst of the worst in your experience in trying to manage Crohn's, and what spurred that, or do you know?
Yeah, this just happened recently, maybe less than 2 years ago now. And I think it started because I got food poisoning.
Oh,
I ate something that was like wrong. And after that happened, it caused a Crohn's attack. And this is the worst I've ever had it. And I didn't really know what was happening at the time. So I was at home and I just thought it was a normal Crohn's thing. It's no big deal. Like, it will pass. And my lips started going blue and I'm shivering. And
whoa.
and I'm like, no, don't worry, it'll pass. And I'm telling my wife this, Katie. And then eventually she's like, I'm calling an ambulance. And then she called the ambulance, and it's a good thing she did, because I was going sepsis.
Oh my
And,
God. Wow.
I was going sepsis. So, got in the hospital. They put like a tube down my throat. They were sucking everything out.
Through your mouth or
Yep.
up your nose? Wow.
Through my
Wow.
mouth, yeah.
Crazy.
And I was basically passed out. Like, I was only awake for a couple hours a day for the first few days. And man, the trippy shit you're thinking about and what's going through your head as that happening, because you're like, is this the end? Like, what's going on? You don't even know, and the doctors don't know, and they're doing all these blood tests, and you're hooked up to an IV, and they're feeding you through an IV. That's the scariest it's been.
Mhm.
Wow.
By far.
Was it from? So I'm not familiar with like getting sepsis from Crohn's. Was it peritonitis? Is that what they were assuming was happening? So like the inflammation is so intense that it could like perforate the
Yep,
intestinal
broke the
wall.
wall, went into the bloodstream.
Okay. The medical term for this is peritonitis,
Yeah.
and it can lead to sepsis, which is that's how do they fix that? Like, how do you manage if your intestinal wall has been perforated? Is it like just getting you to a state where the inflammation comes down and then your intestinal wall heals itself, like heals the divide?
Yeah, there's probably different steps of cure there, but that's what happened for me. So they were sucking all the food out of my body, out of my stomach, so that nothing else would go back through the intestinal tract.
Whoa.
And then they were feeding me through the IV. So basically, the intestines was just on pause. So they had an opportunity, and they were feeding me full of different drugs, antibiotics, and stuff to bring down the inflammation. And that took several days, but it started showing progress.
Okay.
And so they just kept it going, and that's why I was in there for 10 days.
Holy shit. Was that the worst of the worst? Like,
Oh,
was
yeah.
it- yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much almost dying sounds like
Yeah.
Like,
it was
can't get much
bad.
worse.
Yeah. And then outside of that, it's like you'll get some stabbing pains. Those vary from like extremely bad where you can't walk to you don't even talk about it.
Mhm.
And then regular diarrhea. But the very nice thing about Crohn's is it comes and it goes. So like when it's not here, you really don't notice it too much.
Right.
As long as you eat a good diet, avoiding like greasy foods and avoiding dairy, caffeine, all these types of things that will inflame your bowels and bring your Crohn's attack on. As long as I avoid all those things, I'm usually pretty good, and staying active, of course.
Did that episode change, like that being the worst up until that point that you'd experienced, did that change the way that you saw it? Like, did you look at Crohn's through a bit of a different lens after that? Like when you saw that, holy shit, this thing can do this to me.
Yeah, much more respect for it for sure.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I suppose like I've known some people with Crohn's. I had a friend way back in the day I played hockey with when we were like 12 or 13 years old, and he was always on a feeding tube.
Yeah.
And he would yank it out and put it back in. It was crazy.
Cool party trick.
Yeah, it was quite, it was quite the neat trick.
Through the nose.
You thirsty?
Would he?
Yeah, and he always had
through the
a pack.
nose. He would pull it out of his nose, or he would like cough it up out of his mouth and do the.
No, he would take it out and put it in. Like he always had it in. He wasn't always hooked. He wasn't always hooked up to a.
That sounds like
bag.
a bad patient.
But then he was just fucking around.
Yeah, right.
He was so used to it.
Man, his doctors fucking hated him.
And then and he always, like, whenever we were off the ice, he had a little like backpack that had the feeding bag. And I know that, you know, like you just said, the types of things that you put in your body, like you've got to be, you know, have there been times in your life where what you thought you need, the way that you thought about diet and consuming food, like changed as your Crohn's changed? Like you realize, oh, okay, I just had this flare up. Maybe that's because I knew I shouldn't have like maybe had this stuff, but I started to dig into that, and I need to get rid of something in my diet, or trial and error in that way.
Totally. Yeah, you're always trying to evaluate like what did I eat that made me feel terrible, and trying to like work your way backwards. It was funny. I was watching something online the other night, and it was talking about FODMAPs and all these other things that cause IBS. And I was like, holy crap! Like I don't eat that, and just like eventually you kind of figure it all out because these are just. You don't want to feel shitty.
And are those things pretty common, like across the board for people with Crohn's, IBS, colitis, that kind of like umbrella of digestive issues? Or are there things that are like really unique to you that are like this thing is really not good for me, but you know, somebody else there with Crohn's are like, oh yeah, I eat that fine.
I think probably the things that hurt and cause the pain is probably pretty common amongst most people with Crohn's, and probably other bowel diseases. But I think maybe the things that make people feel good might be different amongst different people.
Yeah, interesting.
So like my superpower is bananas. And like if I feel bad, I feel sick, it's just, I'll just eat bananas all day. Like that's all I'll eat.
That's why they give you so much banana medicine.
Which seems
as a
crazy
kid.
because when you imagine what bananas look like chewed up, they probably look most closely to like what's coming out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Which
right.
I mean is probably good because it's less work. It's just like you're just.
You know,
that's a good point.
I listened to
it's already ready.
I
Right?
listened-
Put it in. It's ready to come out.
Like, it's good to go.
I listened to a doctor who was like kind of renowned for like gut biome type stuff, and he sort of knew like everything A to Z from, you know, the moment you put food in your mouth. And he said that you've got this mechanism that anything that's greater than a millimeter in diameter, once it goes down, I can't remember at what junction as it goes down into your digestive system, but anything that you don't chew up to be smaller than a millimeter in diameter, or can't be easily squished into a millimeter diameter, you basically have a garburator system like pretty high up in your digestive tract that mechanically munches everything into a diameter of a millimeter or more, because it cannot actually pass through that junction until it is munched down into something that small.
Maybe that's why it sounds so loud when you fucking eat, because you're not chewing your food and your mouth is open, and that's the sound we hear is just that.
So mulch
It's actually
That's
not your
my-
mouth.
that's
It's
my
just your- it's your
garburator.
garburator. Yeah.
Man, chewing, I don't blame you though. Chewing is really annoying.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it because when you really think about like how much you should chew,
It's way more. It's like brushing your teeth. It's like nobody brushes their teeth for the amount of time that you're supposed to bruch your teeth.
Yeah.
Brad probably does.
I brushed my teeth for
But-
a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
brushed
I'm
my teeth
I'm
for like
sure
3
you
or 4
do.
minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
wow.
Wait, why are you? You're so condescending
Whatever.
about that.
Speaking of doing things that most people don't. Sick.
Good segue.
Fucking transition,
Yeah,
Jeremy. God
sick-
damn it.
Sick segue.
Bradley, you've done a lot. You have crossed the Sahara Desert. You've swam the English Channel. You have raced 14 dogs in the Iditarod across Alaska.
Yep.
You emerged victorious on CBC's Canadians Ultimate Challenge.
Yep.
You now are setting your sights on the 2026 Winter Olympics in ski mountaineering.
Yep.
And to top all that off, you have aspirations of being an astronaut.
Yeah. Nailed it.
All while living with Crohn's.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
All of those things are wild.
Yeah.
And
Very,
building
very,
a company.
very cool.
That's a
And
tough-
and-
that's a-
and
that's a-
CEO of a company,
That's a
yeah.
tough thing.
What out of all those things, what do you think was the most physically taxing?
Yeah, like all the adventures and physical challenges are so different. Like swimming the English Channel was 15 and a half hours in the ocean, swimming from England to France nonstop, not touching the boat, not doing anything. So it's like the end of it, you're pretty beat. The Iditarod was 12 and a half days out in the middle of nowhere, sleeping in the snow in your sleeping bag, feeding these dogs, malnourished, sleep deprived, hallucinating. And then running across Sahara Desert, I had massive chafing. Like sand was all up in between my legs, and they were just rubbing. It was
There's
raw
nothing
then,
worse than chafe.
bro. And the medic people will give you some Vaseline. They're like, here's some Vaseline. You put it on your fingers, which is covered in sand. You wipe it between your crack. You put more sand in there. It's just all caked on. So, dude, like all the challenges have like different things that are really unique and tough. But I'd say that the Iditarod, the hardest thing, it just wasn't me. I had to work with a team of 14 dogs, and you don't speak dog. Like at least I don't.
Yeah.
You know? So to try to encourage these animals to like run and pull you and to work as a team can be tough.
Did Crohn's, like just thinking about all those things, like swimming for 15 hours straight, or like, just being in the vast wilderness or like vast, snow expanse of fucking tundra, whether that's the desert or in Alaska, like how was Crohn's ever something that kind of reared its head amidst those challenges? Or
It's something that I just have to plan for and be ready to go. I can't, like on the Iditarod, there was no like Crohn's attacks or anything like that. And I find when I'm extremely physical, like doing a lot of exercise, it really helps the Crohn's. Like you're less stressed out, you're feeling good, you're in better shape, you're probably eating better. But on Canada's Ultimate Challenge, that was filmed over 6 weeks. So inevitably over 6 weeks, something's going to come up. So I remember one day I just ate all bananas and didn't really sleep too well that night. But other than that, the Crohn's hasn't really affected me so much, other than really motivating me to like keep pushing it, because I find my Crohn's is getting worse, and maybe it's the medication's not working as well anymore. But I almost feel like I have so much time and to do these physical activities. So I want to get everyone in and like push myself as hard as I can as a 38-year-old man, because at some point I'm not going to be able to, and I want to be able to accept when I'm there that cool, I did all those things I wanted to do.
Did
what
you
a
meet
great
Jen
perspective.
Kish when you were doing the Ultimate Challenge?
Yeah.
Cool, sweet. We had her on the podcast.
Okay,
and
cool.
talked
Yeah,
about
Jen
it.
was
Yeah,
great.
Very, very cool.
Did you have her on before or after the show?
After.
Okay.
No, right before
Oh, was it right
It was
before?
right before.
Cool.
Okay, yeah.
to promote the show.
To promote
Right, okay,
the show.
okay.
She had the show had already
The show had been done.
Had been done.
Oh, it had been
It just
filmed,
hadn't
yeah.
come out.
I just thrown out there, we did beat her team.
Hey!
Yeah. She was a great.
Fuck
you
great
ever-
Rogers
coach, though.
and fuck Jen Kish.
Do you ever find that like when you do like really intense, when you do anything really intense, I find that when I go out on my bike for like anything over 4 hours, I just find that for a period of time after that, and this is like especially if you're doing something that's like a multi-day event, that for a period after stopping, your digestion is kind of fucked up for a while, or do you not get that?
I find my digestion almost stops. Like I find when I'm like doing a lot of physical stuff, like on Iditarod, I probably didn't poop for a couple days.
Yeah.
Like it just stopped working.
It's so
I'm
interesting.
like that traveling.
Yeah, I
When I
it's-
get on a plane, like my body, we did the Inca Trail together, and like for 3 days, I was like, I'm just not gonna poop.
I had
No big
one.
deal.
I
No
had-
toilet
I only
paper.
had one
Lightweight.
for 4 days. Yeah.
You
Wait.
also didn't eat the hamsters or
No.
the gerbils, or
And we
whatever.
just
Guinea
ate, we
pigs.
just, and we
Guinea
just
pigs.
chewed
Guinea pigs,
coca. We
thanks.
just chewed coca leaves for 4 days straight.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
funny because I feel like that would make you shit.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. It made me talkative.
Yeah, and that. It reminds me. It's interesting because like living with CF, especially when I was younger, not post Trikafta, but pre Trikafta, a number of years ago, like coughing is something that I would just do incessantly throughout the day, like all the fucking time.
Yeah.
But I went to Ryerson University to study acting and had an acting career for a number of years and did a lot of theater performance. And
Very cool.
in theater, oftentimes not to like brag, but I was often cast in like lead roles. So you're spending a fuckload of time on the stage.
He's a
when
leading
you're
leading
in
man.
that role, leading man.
Not surprised.
Leading man's voice and bit role face. Don't know how I did it.
Like a Steve Buscemi.
Yeah. But the interesting part is that whenever I was on stage, whenever I took on a character, my coughing just disappeared.
Crazy.
There's
Yeah.
like this weird
Crazy.
shutdown of like, okay, you just don't. We're just not going to express CF for this next 2 hours and a bit. And I don't know what the fuck that was.
Happens when you sleep too a lot. I mean, I don't know if you experienced that with CF. I mean,
Well,
in
you
my
stop
experience,
coughing
you
while
did.
you're sleeping.
In my experience, you because you slept hard.
Yeah.
It's an interesting
No,
phenomenon.
you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder if there's like some sort of similar kind of mechanism happening in the brain
Where your body's like, yo, we gotta get this rest. So
Yeah,
we're
or-
just gonna put
Do
this
it.
on pause
Right.
for a minute.
or it's like,
Unless it's
we're
like
sh-
you're
we're
in
shutting
crisis
down the sensations that make you need to do this particular thing, whatever. We do it in sleep when we do it when you're on stage, or we do it when you're running across the Sahara. Or,
I would find that every time if I was like,
So
if I
interesting.
felt like I was like getting a little bit on the under the weather side, and I was teaching yoga, or like you woke up in the morning, you had to teach a class, and you'd be like, oh, I'm kind of feeling a little just like run down this morning. As soon as you go into the class, it was just like
there's a
Game
mode.
time.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
totally like okay, and
Yeah.
then the class would end, and I'd go and sit in the chair,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, I feel shitty again.
Yeah.
But for that hour,
You're
Totally fine.
smooth sailing.
Mhm. I'm curious. I wanted to ask Bradley, how long does it take to run across the desert?
Yes,
Sahara?
this was a staged 150-mile race called Marathon des Sables. So it was over 5 days. So it basically worked out to be about a marathon a day
Whoa.
that we were running. And I say the first day was probably the coolest because we went over a ton of these sand dunes. And these sand dunes are like the height of the Eiffel Tower. They're like pretty insane.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah. So you like imagine like just running on the beach and the sandy part is like kind of arduous. Doing that uphill, like it's like every footstep is like sliding back a little bit.
Wow.
And it's kind of neat because you want to run in the other people's footsteps. It's almost like a set of stairs,
Mhm.
It's
do you
cool.
like
How do
it must be much more kind on your body to be running in the sand, or is it
N-
or is it like it's good
Yeah,
in
I
some
think
ways
so.
and then it's bad in some ways, like
Yeah, if you're gonna choose running on pavement, that hurts your knees a lot.
Yeah.
Or running in sand, I'd choose sand for sure. Yeah, but the tough part being in the Sahara Desert is the wind's blowing, the sand's in the wind, so the sand is now everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's in your armpits, it's in your mouth, it's in your eyes, it's in your hair, it's everywhere.
and it's like little like sand is like it's little projectiles. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
like when the wind is high, it hurts. It's like little tiny stabbings.
It's a buckshot coming at you.
Yeah.
I'm really curious how someone comes up with the idea to do these things and then like finds these things. So like I just find it's one thing to be like, oh, that's a really cool thing to do, but like the actual like logistics of getting into the Iditarod to do that race. Like, what is that like?
Dude, it kind of all started in small stages. One of my buddies, he asked me if I wanted to run a marathon with him. And I just agreed, sure, like, let's do it. And the marathon was that weekend. So
Yeah.
I've never ran a marathon. I'm like 22 years old. I just graduated university. I lived down in Arizona at the time. And so I just went out and ran this marathon, and it was tough. It was so hard. But it was doing that, I started questioning, like, okay, cool. Like, society says that you need to have like the best running shoes. You have to have the cool Gymshark shirt. You need to have the hat. You need to have the goos and the salt tabs and all these things to be successful running a marathon. But I literally just got up and ran a marathon. And I thought, okay, cool. If I can do that, what else in this world does society say you have to do that you don't really need all that arduous preparation for. So from there, I went right to the Sahara Desert race. And I learned about that while I'm watching this TV show called I Shouldn't Be Alive. And this guy basically almost died, and then it showed clips on him like later on in the future, and he did this race, and I was like, oh my gosh, this race looks so cool. So that's that exact same buddy. Hey, would you want to run this race with me? And he said yeah.
So no day on day marathon experience before that. Like you'd never had you like in preparation. So you run the marathon, and then in leading up to the Sahara, which is 5 days, equivalent to a marathon each day, 5 days. Did you do 2 days of marathon prep?
So the initial marathon, 0 training.
Okay.
Just got up and ran it. Always been an athletic guy.
Sure.
But the Marathon des Sables, 150 miles across the Sahara Desert, totally. Yeah, me and my buddy, we trained for probably 4 or 5 months for that.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. For a moment, it sounded like you were like, I ran the marathon.
And the next day, I flew to the Sahara.
And then, I mean, yes, it sounded that way. I was like, whoa, dude,
Bro,
that is
Crossed
nuts.
the finish line, and I looked at my watch and said, I can make it to the airport in about 20 minutes from here, and ran to the airport.
Dude, I love it.
Bought the ticket on the run. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the world race?
The world. Tell me what the world
It's
race is.
a marathon on every continent over 7 days.
Yeah.
So like it costs a lot of money to do. It's like $40,000 US.
I believe it's called the Amazing Race.
No, but the reason why is like the travel in between destinations is covered, so they have to like charter jets to get from.
Right.
You start in
Antarctica.
Antarctica, then you go to South Africa, and then you go to Asia. But like that's a dream of mine to do that. But it's so, that would be insane.
Dude, you should do it. That'd be so awesome.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Tour?
You should do it. We should do it together.
Let's go.
Have you heard of the Tour Divide?
I've heard of the Tour Divide. Yeah.
It's so you go. It's a self-supported. There is no route. There are checkpoints that you need to pass through. It's like an ultra cycling event, unsupported from. It starts in Banff and ends at the border of Mexico, the U.S.-Mexico border in New Mexico. And I think the record is 12 and a half days or something like that. But like, I think the average person takes like 15, 16, 17 days or something like that.
Dude, that's still pretty quick as it is.
Yeah.
It's
2,000 kilometers, 2,000 miles.
I can't remember what it is. I want to say, like 2,700 kilometers, something like that. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Coppers Hill cheese rolling in weight?
It's on my list. I want to do it.
Dude.
It's a good one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I want to do that. That'd be a ton of fun.
For people who don't know, it's chasing a giant wheel of cheese down a very steep hill in
It's amazing.
in England.
Dude, those videos are hilarious.
They
Yeah,
are
you want to see
amazing.
someone bust face.
Yeah.
Watch some fucking drunk Englishman.
The trick
Or
is just
woman.
roll. Just roll.
Lord Farquhar coming in.
Yeah. Get a kite, fly down. Like, that's a crazy
Your
one.
ancestry is tied to this, and so is mine.
Bradley, I wanted to ask about. You mentioned that you feel like your Crohn's is getting more severe as you get older.
Yeah.
In terms of like the advice that you've gotten from doctors or healthcare professionals about what to expect as you age with Crohn's, have they told you much about that?
I think it's so different for so many different people. Like I seen the extremes where you're on a colostomy bag or you're being fed from a tube. I hope I never get to that point, but honestly, it's in some ways it's out of my control. So the doctor has never really sat me down and said, "Hey, Brad, this is what's going to happen." But he's pretty active on helping me choose the right medication and always being on top of checking my poo to make sure that whatever signs are like within limit and adjusting those things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I spend a lot of time worrying about either. I just want to run as fast as I can right now for as long as I can and not worry about how it's going to end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So let's talk about the space, the ambitions to become an astronaut. Where does that come from? What is that? Like which? To point it to Brian's question earlier, it's like what avenue are you taking to try to achieve that goal? Are we talking like Canadian Space Agency astronaut or some sort of like private aerospace kind of endeavor?
Dude, I'm gonna make a bunch of money and I'm gonna pay to go to space.
Okay.
That's what's gonna happen. I applied to be an astronaut through the Canadian Space Agency, but I don't have the degrees, and having Crohn's is gonna stop me right away.
Right.
You
Like
know?
they just go,
It-
even if you had all the credentials, you were a whatever pilot, doctor, they'd be like, nope, Crohn's.
Yep, and it makes sense because like, how are they gonna deal with someone on the International Space Station or wherever you're at in space having a Crohn's attack?
Mm.
What do you do?
Well, I mean, you know, I will say this. They did not long ago, a couple of years ago, they did announce that they were, when they opened up their last sort of round of applications, they did open it up to people living with physical disabilities. So, you know, someone with dwarfism or someone with one leg, or
Mhm.
which like that was not the case for forever.
Totally.
It was the first time they ever sort of opened the doors for people who have differences in their physical ability. So, you know, who knows? Maybe not in our lifetime, but like the day where they start opening applications for folks that are living with some sort of chronic illness, like that could be within our lifetime, maybe.
I think like Canadian Space Agency and astronauts in general are becoming less and less relevant. Like it's going to be all privatized.
Mhm.
It's less expensive to send somebody up there that can do the job, whether they have Crohn's, whether they have a disability, physical or not, to go up and make it happen. And you're already starting to see that. Like the International Space Station right now, it's going to retire in the next probably 5 years, 10 years, maybe, depending on if their contract is extended. But there's tons of private companies working on building habitats right now that they can do all the sciences and stuff. So once that happens, we're already seeing private citizens going to space.
Mhm.
It's well within our lifetime.
And you're looking at this not from like a space tourism aspect, less of that and more from like an active participant in furthering the sort of human achievement of space exploration. Or
I would like to build stuff in space. It's like structures, like hotels, like habitats, like where people can live and vacation, go up there with your family and float around and look down at the Earth and see the overview effect, and really how everything that we know and love and cherish and have seen has all happened on this little Earth before. And that's the only place it's ever happened. And I think that's a wicked future to work towards. And I think that's like these physical goals, I keep trying to go higher and higher and higher, but like what's higher than space? Like I feel like I did it at that point.
From your perspective of like, from your perspective of building a company, like building a successful company already, and kind of doing these physical challenges and looking out and seeing this opportunity in space. I mean, I've seen these stories of like startups that are looking to like build a hotel in space, for example.
Totally.
And when you don't participate in that world at all, and you're just seeing the story come out, it feels to me, because I feel like I kind of pay attention to that stuff, so it's not like shocking to me. But for like the average person, it's like that, seeing that story is like such a leap forward in time that is almost imperceivable, like something that feels like, oh, that's like 150 years from now, maybe.
Yeah.
But with obviously the advent of reusable rockets and all this stuff, like that whole landscape is drastically changing. From where you sit with all these things and wanting to accomplish and go after these things, what do you think are the reasonable goalposts of time in the future where building infrastructure in space that people can go to is?
Well, I think we're already there. Like there's already companies building stuff in space, and they're attaching a lot of it to the International Space Station. But right now, for the first time in history, there's 3 countries that have space stations, and there's multiple companies, like you mentioned, that are building stuff. To answer your question, I think we're there. Like you can go up private right now if you wanted to, and cruise around the Earth at thousands of kilometers an hour and look down. So, and it's only going to accelerate, you know, as space travel becomes less and less expensive to get off the Earth and go up there. Like you're going to see more participants because it's going to make sense. It'll make financial sense, but also there's a lot of aspirations that people have to do stuff in space.
How do you get your foot in the door for something like that? You know, like what are the, like, you seem like someone who has a goal, sets that goal, achieves that goal. You know, I can wrap my head around applying for a particular race or traveling somewhere to do something, really taxing, what are the like steps in the goal of wanting to participate in space exploration for someone who's, not a test pilot or someone who's not within the CSA or NASA?
You just need money. Like you need money, man. Like to build hotels and habitats in space. And you can see like I'm excited about it. Like I freaking can't wait. And I hopefully in the next 10 years I'm going to start working on this full time. But the idea to build habitats I think is quite simple. Like to build one is not a mystery anymore. We know what we can do to build it. It's a tin can. There's other things we can do to make it inflatable. But outside of that, once you can build it here on Earth, now it's launching it up. There's lots of launch partners. Mm-hmm. So now we just need customers. So you start selling it. Mm. It's going to cost $100 million for a week. Not a lot of customers out there for that right now, but there are several.
There's some.
There's some that are willing to get in a fucking submarine that's controlled
that's all
by
I could think about.
Logitech controller.
I'd rather go up than down.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much.
Just throw it on Airbnb and you'll like get sold out real quick.
My favorite movie is Alien, the 1979 Ridley Scott Alien, and the tagline is "In space, no one can hear you scream." So I'm wondering if you read that tagline and were like, "In space, no one can hear you shit." I want to go up there.
And they wouldn't smell it either. Like you'd be laughing. Like you'd be good to go. That is my domain
for Crohns.
Yeah. What a fucking wild goal. I love that.
Because you brought that up, Ocean Gate, and I'm curious about that. Would you be the type of person to get on that submarine and go to the Titanic?
I've always wanted to go to Titanic.
I figured.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's not. I mean, to Ocean Gate. Or sorry, that's not the name of the company. Oh wait, what is it called? Ocean Gate.
Ocean Gate's the company.
Okay, Ocean Gate's the company.
The sub was called
the Titan.
The Titan.
Oh, great memory.
So
I was just trying to.
I know, right? God, we really rallied around that whole thing for a while, didn't we? So not. I mean, that was like there was a whole bunch of issues, but it's not like nobody had ever gone down to the Titanic before.
No, there's lots of there's a whole industry of submersibles that do that type of thing all the time.
Yeah. I know we joke
it was
about
all those other companies were looking at Ocean Gate going, you're doing this wrong. You guys are you're going to have a catastrophic event at some point.
But it's like, like when, and this, I'm sure this is the same way for, or this could be the same way for space exploration and the things that you're wanting to do. Like it can be very dangerous when like one person that's participating doesn't do it correctly and then has a failure of some kind, which like totally sidetracks the entire endeavor.
We'll see that for sure.
Totally. And how the whole, like, how does the whole sector come together to try and kind of, minimize the
regulation,
the damage of
well, it's like the, like if you imagine Airbnb with 100, space habitats that are available to book, you can be sure that the ones that are getting 1-star reviews are going to suck and be super dangerous.
Yeah.
But like, there'll also be really good ones that are probably really great. So
the 1-stars are only $10 million.
Yeah.
For the week.
And not worth it.
But that point alone makes me feel like there's so much room in the space industry for habitats. Like you look here on Earth, there's like the Delta, there's Marriott, the Holiday Inn. There's all these different hotel chains and they offer a different experience. They got the pool, they got the water slide, they got the king size bed. Like all those things will be required in space. So not one company can have amenities to suit everybody.
What is the?
I got an idea that'll set yours apart. Water beds in space.
Wow.
That is a good idea.
King size beds, dude.
Water beds. Yeah. I mean, we need more water beds back here.
Water beds that you don't lay on. Water beds that you are in.
Yeah, right. With a helmet.
Snorkel.
That's right.
That's it.
You know what though? Water beds are actually amazing ideas for hotels because like a water bed is such an amazing experience, but you don't want that to be your bed every night.
No. It was my bed every night when I was a kid. I had a water bed.
It's not an amazing experience for your spine, I don't think.
It was. My spine's great. I turned out well.
Yeah, you're resilient.
Just a little bit of scoliosis
as a child.
Yeah.
From the waterbed.
Yeah.
Is there a? This is just pure curiosity.
It gave me CF, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah, that's right. That's why you got cystic fibrosis.
It was an pneumonia from the fucking water.
Is there a?
And that developed.
Is there a plausible way to simulate gravity in space? So like that you don't, so that you are, if you were going to go up and spend time in space, you could
actually water. Like that is the current like standard for simulating zero G.
No,
gravity in
I
space.
mean gravity in space.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, like,
see what you mean.
like, you know, when
Yeah,
you see a sci-fi movie and they're all like, oh, we just like make the object
We have the
spin
centrifuge
and the
that-
centrifuge,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then like
yeah.
and then the ship has gravity.
Dude, that's
Gravitational.
exactly it. That's how you do it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's
that's the
that's
way.
not just sci-fi bullshit. That's like, oh, this is how you would theoretically do this.
Totally. Yeah. If we took this glass, put a string on it, put water in it, and start spinning around in a circle, the water's not going to fall out. Same
Right.
idea in space. We're like forcing that to the feet. But you could also have really cool like magnetic boots or something, and like just have a magnetic floor and walk around like that or something.
The only known
Now
way
you're
to
thinking.
create artificial gravity is to supply a force on an astronaut that produces the same acceleration as the surface of the Earth, 9.8 meters sec 2 or 32 feet / sec 2. 9.8 meters
Per
per second squared, maybe. This can be done with bungee cords, body restraints, or by spinning the spacecraft fast enough to create enough centrifugal acceleration. So it is, yeah.
I love
a
that
big
word.
centrifuge,
There you go.
like the ship on 2001: A Space Odyssey, where they're
Yeah,
just walking
nailed
the
it.
fucking big circular thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck
Sweet.
yeah. What's the biggest thing that Crohn's has taken away from you?
Dude, that's a great question. I don't know if Crohn's has taken anything away from me. Like I think it's given me a lot of stuff.
That was my
Um,
second question. What's the biggest thing it's given you?
motivation, like and yeah, I'd say I wish I was more open about Crohn's, and I think I should be. I should talk more about it because there's other people out there that might have it or might not, or have something else that could probably benefit from my story, because I really don't think about it, worry about it too much. I just focus on my goals as a goal-oriented person. And I think some people could really benefit from that, because I think if you were constantly focusing on that disease, it would hold you back. So the best thing that Crohn's has given me is the ability to realize that there are things out there in the world that's going to hold you back that you can push forward through.
Well, Bradley, this has been a fucking awesome conversation.
Thanks,
It's
man.
been so fun to talk to you, get to hear your perspectives.
The
get
poop
to-
stories.
Yeah, get to hear, shit,
All the
shit,
poop.
We love
brother to
talking
brother
poop.
shit stories.
Yeah.
But also just to see the way that you view your life and just taking charge, setting goals, and just taking the step-by-step sort of process to ensure that those goals come to fruition.
Dude. If I was going to leave you with one final thought, I feel like we have one shot at this life. And like, as we're setting our goals, we need to set them high, like so high that we need to tell our friends and our family and stuff, they're going to look at you and think you're like half crazy, or like give you that like kind of scoff, like, whoa. And that's your indication that you set your goals high enough.
Mm.
I fucking love that.
I feel like I speak for the three of us and all of our listeners when we say thank you for such an inspiring conversation. This has been a
Thanks,
real
man.
treat. So thank you so much.
Appreciate your time.
All right, let's Brad, can we just say what we all feel like we need to say now that he's not here?
Yeah. He's such a
Step
What
good
it
a
up.
guy.
fucking
Step it up.
loser. What?
Oh,
What did you say? Sorry.
I said he was a good guy.
yeah, me too. Right. Yes. Yeah. Good guy.
Right.
Good
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Wait,
So sweet.
wait,
Little
why-
lackluster in the motivation department, but
wait,
overall
wait.
good guy.
I can't tell if you guys are being sarcastic or if we're just actually trash talking the
No,
guy
I
who's
hate those.
just
I
on the
hate those
podcast.
people. I hate hanging out with people that make me feel like I'm a piece of shit.
I like it
Yeah,
because
dude, you sound like you have CF. Dude.
oh, dude,
You want some
ew.
trifecta? I got some left
Dude,
over.
I feel like I need some track
Yeah.
after right now.
I like
but-
hanging out with them because it's inspiring. And Brad wrote
It
me
is.
after, and he
It
was
is.
like, "Hey, are we definitely going to do that? The 7 marathons in 7 continents?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
He actually inspired. I was thinking about maybe next year doing the half marathon at the Blue.
Fuck
Moose.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
sweet
it was
dude.
because of his conversation. So we'll see.
Sweet.
We'll see.
Oh,
I'm saying
dude,
it now.
Jer, if you do a half marathon, I will join you in that pursuit.
All right, sweet. But no training. We do it the day of.
Okay.
Just joking.
That's a bad
Just
idea.
joking. Just joking. I love my knees. All right. So before we get into, so I've been teasing this out. We're gonna get into something really gross. But before we do, there was something I want. Oh, hold on. Oh shit! Breaking news. We got some breaking news here. It's been a while since we had breaking news coming in.
Yeah.
Oh my
Let's
God.
get right to it.
Just in,
That's so
police
loud in my
officers
ears.
in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, we're asking people to be on the lookout for a man who robbed a store. And I think we
You just
do.
did what you did.
We
Oh,
do
is he
have his
getting breaking
description. Can we
news?
take that? Let's take his
We've
description.
got the description.
Looking like a leprechaun to me.
Oh no! So if you're in Philadelphia right now and you're only
Okay.
listening,
This is the guy. They
there's a
want
guy on the
wanted
loose
people in Pennsylvania to be out on the lookout for. He's got
in Pennsylvania.
he's got a nose and some hair that goes
Looks like
like
a-
that, and
it looks like a
he
kid
was wearing
droid.
a hat at the time of this particular crime. It's got kind of a chin that comes down to almost a point.
I mean, honestly, it's going to be pretty hard
Stands
to find
about
that person.
5
That
feet
looks
4
like a
inches
kid's
tall.
drawing.
There it is.
Wow.
There,
Get a good
wow.
look for yourself.
You can see this.
Oh,
on
and
YouTube
now I'm
if
getting
you wanna
word
go.
that police actually caught this guy.
Oh, they caught him.
Thanks to the sketch, no doubt. So here's a picture of the real guy next to the sketch.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, his arrest.
It's actually pretty accurate.
It's uncanny, Lisa.
It is, yeah. I mean, minus the hat.
guy on the
All
left.
right. Well, you know what? Let's cut back here because we don't live in Pennsylvania. So I don't know. There must have been some sort of cross feed. There was an accident there. But
Everybody knows that we're live.
Actual breaking news. We got a letter that I wanted to read.
Okay.
If you have a letter to reach out to us, letters@sickboypodcast.com. You can send that to us. This came in from a woman named Bree. Hi, Jeremy, Taylor, and Brian. My name is Bree, and I'm 33, and I live in New York. I came across your podcast while listening to ASAP Science about a
It's
year
the
ago.
best city. Everybody knows it.
ASAP Science, we love those guys. Actually, when we got our meritorious service medal, we actually got it with them. They actually got the meritorious service medal the same day.
It was very nice because I also am in love with those
I
guys.
have a crush on them.
Yeah, me too. So I was on their show. For people who didn't know, if you can go check it out. It was a great episode. We had so much fun. So Bree found Sickboy through listening to ASAP Science about a year ago and was intrigued by Jeremy's interview. So much so that I've been binge listening to your podcast literally every day since. I'm currently listening to the glioblastoma episode from 2021. So I'm a little bit behind still.
Still
So-
pretty good
So
catching
she'll
up.
catch up. She'll probably listen to this in 2 years. So
2026.
Bree, hope you're still alive. I never write fan mail, but I want you to know the impact you've made on my life. I started my healthcare career as a pandemic 10 years ago.
As a pandemic?
Sorry, as a paramedic.
There we go.
Okay.
10 years ago, and still work per diem. I worked for 6 years as a transplant coordinator for New York's OPO, Live on NY, Live on NY, maybe, and have been working as a NICU RN for the last year. Basically, I see death on the regular, and your podcast has made me not feel so alone / scared in my thoughts regarding death. While working as a transplant coordinator, I was exposed to death literally every day, and the majority of it was quite horrific. In one of your episodes, you guys discussed the saying, "I can't imagine what X would feel like," and how alienating that can be. That episode had a profound effect on me and how I talk to friends, family, coworkers, and my patients' family members.
That was with Estelle. When we were
That's
having
right.
the conversation, and you said, "I
I said
can't
that.
imagine," and she said, "That's bullshit. You
Yeah,
can imagine.
took me
you
to
just don't
school.
want to."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've discussed it many times since then.
She said, "I have even corrected a person or three when they have said this in conversation." I felt compelled to write you after listening to the episode about PTSD and first responders, as I feel like this is not talked about enough in the EMS community. I suffer from PTSD from my years as a pandemic, and commend you for talking about this because a lot of us silently struggle with it. What you guys have created is so important. I hope you continue to do the podcast. Also, you guys make me laugh my ass off pretty regularly with your humor and the dumb shit you guys say.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, thanks, Bree.
Whoa. Wait, is this Bree or Louise?
Well, she goes on to say, "Just wanted to say thanks for what you do because you have undoubtedly changed the way I live my life and my practice and as a paramedic / RN. You guys fucking rock. P.S. As a dog lover, my two pit bulls, pups Sadie and Layla, say hi. PPS or PSS. I think it's PPS. Is it PSS? Anyway, she said PSS. That was a dumb thing to say. Louise sucks. Fuck yeah. PSSSS. Jeremy's my favorite. XO Bree.
That's
very
not in there.
cool.
That's a lie. You
That-
inserted that.
No, I didn't.
I read the email. It definitely didn't say
Literally
that.
says it right there. Literally.
Everybody knows it has said that. I walked in here. I looked at the letter. I
She
said, this is
said,
the best letter. Everybody
Jamie's
knows
the
it.
best.
I'm glad that she said at the end that she was a paramedic, because the whole time I was thinking that she was a pandemic, and I could see how you would
man.
have PTSD if you
It'd
were
be
a
so
pandemic.
hard, yeah.
You know, like all the lives that you had taken and like just being such a pain in the ass for everybody all around the world. I could see how that would.
It would be hard not to hate yourself.
It would be.
You know?
As a paramedic?
No,
Bree,
as a pandemic.
Thanks for the leather, Bree. We really appreciate that. And again, if you want to reach out, letters@sickboypodcast.com, you can do that. Now, speaking of PTSD, I think we're about to give everybody PTSD who's watching the show.
Is that
So
a trigger
I-
warning? That's
no,
your.
It is.
That's your
This is my
best
trigger warning.
Actually-
We should replace trigger warnings with that. With buckle up, you're going to get PTSD.
Side note, super interesting. Anybody, other podcast shout out, go listen to Search Engine. They did an episode on trigger warnings, which was actually super, super fascinating. And I lost my train of thought for the other thing.
You were going
I
to
was
say
gonna
that when PJ was recording that episode, he personally reached out to us and we were having a back and forth. And anyway, you're going to go into that whole story, but
Yeah, but that's neither here nor there. The thing that I was going to say was this has been teased, this whole disgusting thing. Now,
Hopefully so much so that like it won't be that big of a deal.
in real time, it's been about 2 weeks in the office.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know exactly what the timeline is in podcast time
I
world.
think it's been about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about hair.
Are you okay, Brian?
Okay.
there's like, I feel like I just chipped my tooth on my coffee mug.
Okay. Well,
Are you okay? You going to make it?
you want to smile
Yeah.
for me? Give me a smile.
Oh, God.
Uh-oh.
Fucked, isn't
That's
it?
bad. We're going to have to take care of that later.
All right. So we're going to get into hair.
I love my hair.
We're going to be talking about hair in the mouth. Now, we've talked about black hairy
Oh.
tongue before.
Right.
And if you don't remember, black hairy tongue, this is not what we're talking about. This is not to be confused with black hairy tongue. Black hairy tongue actually isn't hair, but it looks like it is. And that usually happens when there's a bunch of tiny rounded bumps on the tongue called papillae. And when they grow too long because they don't shed dead skin cells, they can like look black and it looks like you have black hair in your tongue. But that's not actually hair. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about actual hair.
And I just want to say that I was sitting across the desk last Friday when Jer showed this to Haley.
Yeah.
Haley quit.
That's why she's not here today. She literally almost threw up. So I'm sorry, everybody.
I don't understand how hair on the tongue could be that bad.
Okay, well, let's get into it.
Look at
This
cats
is a-
have hair on their tongue.
This is a specific research paper, a study on a very specific patient that is very specifically rare. Okay, so here's the background. The article addresses a rare side effect where patients experience persistent hair growth in the oral cavity after reconstructive surgery. This occurs when the skin graft used in the reconstruction contains hair follicles that continue to grow.
Whoa.
Okay. Now, listen, I know that we've got some young folks listening. Nathan, our Gen Z consultant, reached out. He knew I was going to be talking about this. He said, dude, this is way over my head, no cap or something like that. And so he translated this. We'll go through it at the end so we can just like give you the same information so that nobody feels left out.
Okay.
The case report, the subject of the article is about a 40-year-old man who underwent a palatal excision and reconstruction using a skin flap from his thigh to treat a low-flow vascular malformation of the palate. Now, it's kind of a common practice. When my dad got in a car accident when he was young, tore off a huge chunk of his ear.
That's why he's bald.
And and they took a chunk of his ass and they put it on his ear. So
No way.
he's an asshead. And there's no hair. So I think he had, like me, hairless ass.
Right. That makes sense.
Now, 2 months post-surgery, the patient reported excessive hair growth within the reconstructed area of his mouth. The hair was described as long, thick, and coarse.
Like Taylor's.
Which complicated basic functions like eating and speaking as food would get caught in the hair. Clinical findings. I'm really trying. I really am trying not to gag by just thinking about this. Upon examination, a significant amount of hair was observed on the flap used for the palatal repair. There was also a visible defect in the palate beyond the flap. The patient, having dark and thick body hair,
like Taylor,
faced considerable emotional and psychological distress due to this complication. I can imagine.
Okay, guys. Can we just... I got the dark, thick, coarse
It
hair.
actually, so
in the
when
places
we
that
look
are
at the photo,
appropriate.
it
It's
actually
definitely Taylor.
It looks like the guy opens his mouth and Taylor's ass is in his mouth.
No, not Taylor's
Okay.
ass,
No,
because
no,
Taylor also has.
No, sorry, not his ass, just above
Right. Taylor
his
is
lumbar.
You know the
No, I don't have any of that hair.
You know the
Dude.
you know the red ass baboons that just have that like red bare
yeah.
bum? That's Taylor. Like his,
Yeah, yeah.
his bum is
Especially after he gets off the
perfectly
butt dart. Yeah.
perfectly clean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's the secret. Actually, sitting on a bike seat
And the rest of your body is just
kills the hair follicles.
it's like a rug. You got a rug on.
So here's the treatment. The dermatologist recommended laser hair removal inside the mouth. However, the patient was hesitant and ultimately was like, fuck that, actually.
Whoa, really?
Which I can kind of get because the guy was like, I came in here, you fixed my mouth, but you actually fucking unfixed my mouth. Probably would have rathered having no palate.
Do you think though it's because he had such a successful surgery? Like it was so well
Yeah,
transplanted
maybe.
or grafted that
I feel like our
That
ability to
graft on.
comment on this is
well we can
is-
comment.
w-
Our
I feel
ability
like
to be accurate.
I think you're
is like-
100% correct, Brian.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The article stresses the importance of possibly treating the donor's skin site to reduce hair before grafting it to another location like the oral cavity. That's probably a good idea. Various precautions are necessary during laser treatment to protect the graft and ensuring effective hair removal. It is suggested to use, so in the case that this ever happens again, a laser like the neodymium doped yttrium aluminum garnet, the ND YAG laser, with multiple treatments spaced 4 to 6 weeks apart to coincide with hair growth cycles. So the outcomes of the study. The article referenced a study where long-pulsed NG YAG laser treatments was used under general anesthesia on 9 patients with similar conditions, effectively reducing hair in 8 of the 9 cases. Most of the patients achieved over 90% hair clearance with only mild to temporary side effects. The significance here is that the case is highlighted for its clinical rarity and unique challenges it presents. It also serves as an important reminder of potential complications in surgical reconstruction involving skin grafts.
Can you just remind me where in the mouth this graft was done?
Well, I'm
long,
gonna actually-
long in the mouth.
I'm going to actually show you.
okay. Yeah. I mean,
So-
I've been waiting for the pictures.
So here we go. This
I don't think it's
is
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot
Yeah,
of
So
hair.
you can see the skin graft on the top of this guy's palate. If you're just listening, we are looking at a photo of this guy yanking his mouth open, and like right above his tongue on the palate, there's a big chunk of white skin. Now, inside your mouth, typically that part of the mouth would look kind of like your gums, like a reddish hue.
But that's obviously the skin graft.
This is the skin graft. So it looks like Taylor's white thigh with black, long black coarse
His
hair.
legs are getting tan. It's cycling season.
Nice hair, though.
And there's another photo here of somebody else with
Oh,
it.
that's a different person. Okay.
Yeah, different person. Also really gross. Now here's the one that sucks. Okay. Oh,
Oh yeah.
this
Wait,
one's like in
yeah.
the throat. Like
Oh,
this
yeah.
one's way back.
Yeah.
I want to remind people that we're not making fun of these people
No,
for
no.
having gross mouths. We're commenting on the mistakes that have been made in the skin grafting process on behalf of the medical.
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn
This is the guy.
that turn blonde in the sun.
Is that
And
Joe
the kids
Biden?
used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
Wait,
So it was straight and then watch the hair come back up again.
Dude, wait,
They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap.
that is Joe Biden,
And
right?
I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Or AI Joe Biden.
It's hard to say.
Um,
It's hard to say.
yeah, I mean, obviously we're not laughing at the fact that those people have that. I mean, I didn't even find it funny. I found it
No.
kind of unsettling.
It's
No,
not-
I
also,
mean, sorry, I
it's-
mean like saying it's gross. We're not going, this person's gross.
No.
no. But
It's the thought of hair in the back of my throat. is
totally.
gross.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
that's the thing that, because like everybody's familiar with the feeling of having hair in their mouth, like a hair in their mouth.
Oh yeah.
And-
Isn't it crazy how just even the smallest of
One
hairs
hair.
in your mouth, like you just like, it
No,
sets off like an alarm bell
just
in
like-
your brain.
Yeah. It's like all encompassing. You're just like, it's in there.
Like nothing can be done until it's gone.
So I have this thing, and especially that one that was in like the back of the mouth, like towards the throat. When I get really dehydrated or I'm sick, my uvula swells up,
Same, yeah.
and
I hate that
and
feeling.
that feeling of it
Fucking
like sitting on the tongue.
Now
in your back
imagine
of your
that,
throat.
but the whole thing's just
Oh,
wrapped
yeah.
in like a
Yeah.
fucking weave.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, now, so I know that our young folks You still probably have no fucking clue what's going on here. So let's we'll do a real quick Gen Z translation.
Fortnite battle pass. I just shit out my ass.
Okay, so background. Here we go. So here's the sitch. After some oral surgery, folks can end up with a low-key wild side effect where they legit start growing hair in their mouth. Yup, like full-on hair. Case report. So there was this dude, right? He's 40 and had to fix up his palate with a piece of skin from his thigh. Yeah, wild. Fast forward 2 months and my man's like, bruh, why is my mouth turning into a Chewbacca lookalike? We're talking thick, long hair where he's just trying to eat and talk, and now food's getting all caught up in there. Major yikes.
Major.
yikes.
Clinical findings. Docs took a look, and no cap, his mouth was busting with hair. Dark, thick, just doing the most right there on the flap that was supposed to help him out. Treatment and recommendations. The skin doc was all, let's zap that with some lasers, suggesting they go full sci-fi in his mouth and get rid of the Chewbacca vibes. But homie was not down for that. Said, nah to the lasers. Docs are now thinking maybe they should yeet the hair off the donor site before slapping it onto another spot like the mouth. All right, so studies, outcomes and studies. Some big brain moves with studies showing using the fancy NG YAG laser, and it slaps. Like, it seriously reduced the hair drama for most patients. They tried this on 9 patients, and it was a whole glow up for almost all of them. They were serving less Chewbacca and more smooth operator vibes, with just a touch of post-laser ouchies. Only mild tea with some side effects, nothing too cray. And here's the significance of it all. The whole thing is a rare tea, but serves some serious knowledge about what can go down with surgical stuff. It's all about being extra when planning to avoid this kind of nope situation. So there you go.
Dude,
That was bang on.
I actually feel, funnily enough, I feel more informed.
Me
Same.
too. Yeah, I
same.
get it more.
Yeah. I got what was happening there, and I also understand why Gen Z is so troubled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything has become more clear today.
Yeah.
Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. That was gross and fun, and you know, maybe I did hype it up too much. Maybe it wasn't that gross.
Not as gross as I thought it was going to be, honestly. I mean, hair in the mouth, yeah, no bueno. But I was expecting some real gaggy vibes.
Yeah.
Honestly, for anybody just listening who
Slay.
who
Okay.
uses Photoshop and generative fill, it's like it looked kind of like you selected the mouth with the generative fill tool and just like clicked generate, and it was like,
You're speaking everyone's language right now.
I'm speaking directly to Pat. That's it. I'm just speaking to him.
Hey, Pat.
Pat knows what's up.
You know, you dude, he's full up on generative fill.
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's a big design humor community, and
Oh yeah, I'm sure you
and-
follow all the design and humor meme pages.
I do, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again. And if you want to support the podcast, head on over to the Discord where you can talk to Pat about hair and mouth, and a bunch of other really cool cats that are contributing to our Discord and helping us produce this show and keep this show running. So come on over and join the community there. If you want to support the podcast even more than that, leave a rating and a review, or you can hit the Q&A form on Spotify and tell us how much you don't want me to be playing sounds anymore in the podcast, which keep on sending those and see how that pans out. And of course, like we said earlier, letters at sickboypodcast.com if you want to send us anything. But
Okay, yeah.
and that was what you say.
Great,
So
great
yeah,
handover to me.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a guest on the show, go to sickboypodcast.com. Particularly if you've ever had hair growing in your mouth and you want to,
Oh, for
you just
sure.
want
Would
to,
love
you just
to-
want to have
yeah.
a mad bitch sesh about
That'd be great.
about the surgeon who no cap fucked up the sleigh jam on your skin
No.
graft.
No,
So
it was a good try.
I thought that was pretty good. Okay.
Taylor, you're more of a boomer than a millennial.
You know what?
Yeah,
Actually, you know what?
Man, yeah.
You know
Wow.
what? You
Yeah.
know what? There's
Nailed it.
two guys. There's two guys that I race with that are like 20 years old. And the other day, I showed up to the race and I went over to use the porta potty at the race location, and they were like nearby. And I went up and they went, dude, look at Taylor dripping. Look at the drip, dad drip.
Right.
And I was like, dude, slay.
Have you ever heard of sarcasm?
It wasn't sarcasm.
Also,
It
did
was
you hear?
no,
Did you hear how you set that up?
No.
Hey, two guys that I race bicycles with. said, "Hey man, wow, look at the drip."
No, they're 20. They're 20.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what, Jared?
And they race
You know what, Jared?
bicycles.
You know what they were wearing, Jared? You know what one of them was
I
wearing?
know what they were wearing. Bibs.
You know what one of them was wearing?
Bibs and shoes with a bunch of fucking hooks on the
One of them
bottom.
was wearing a big baggy graphic tee and Carhartt, big wide Carhartt jeans rolled up to about the length that mine are, but tapered down, very à la Jer.
Interesting. And you should tell him, hey, if you want to
It was basically your drip telling me I got drip.
and if you want to be
Drip
good at
sees
biking, so you're telling me you're basically you're digging the hole deeper.
Drip knows drip.
Two guys that ride bicycles, and one of them who rides bicycles wearing a fucking parachute, who has no clue how to ride a bicycle efficiently, told you had drip. That's like me saying a guy walked into the podcast studio and said, "Hey, you're sick at podcasting," and he happened to be deaf.
Well, when you guys get compliments on your drip from 20-year-olds, you come to me.
Thanks to the people who helped make this show happen. Thanks, Jeff Lonis, Richard Cohen, Donovan Morgan, everybody else. We love you all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We got to do. We got to do.
Thank you.
We got to do an
Thank you.
episode or a segment or something about the deaf community in podcasts.
Yeah, there's transcripts now on Apple Podcasts.
Right.
If you
Like
want to read
I'm
them.
wondering how much take up that gets. You know.
Yeah.
Like, is that something that as a deaf person it translates? Because like if you're watching a movie with captions, totally easy. You're seeing it.
Yeah.
If you're reading a book, you're reading a book. But if you're listening to a podcast with captions, does it translate? Does it give the same enjoyment that like, you know, podcasting, people love podcasting because of the way that they are able to like take it in on the drive or on the walk. So if you're reading transcripts of a podcast, like is it something that it has the potential of being as popular in the deaf community, or is it kind of less enjoyable, less sort of drawn to just by nature of like reading a transcript of people?
Maybe it's
chatting?
just like the inverse
curious.
of audiobooks. It's just the opposite.
Which is just reading. Yeah.
Right.
But so you're just reading a script of an interview. Yeah.
Right.
Reading a I mean, I could get into reading like the transcripts of a interrogation, like a police interrogation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that's the
So
pod.
maybe
Maybe that's
it's
the
just-
pod, the gap that needs to be filled. And a police interrogation podcast.
Maybe our podcast just isn't interesting when you read it. Is that what we're saying?
Dude, I feel like our podcast might not be interesting when you listen. That is it for this week.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jerry, and this is Sick Boy.